Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty cool stuff to go talk about over here when it comes to the PlayStation 5 and the very first, and at least in my opinion, fantastic impression on 8K gaming when it comes to the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, as you guys probably know, the PlayStation 5 Pro does actually have better specs, and in theory, it was actually meant to be even running 8K on the PlayStation 5, although Sony was a little bit secretive and did decide to go and remove a lot of that marketing, both on the baseline PS5 and even the Pro. But right now, it does seem like the PS5 Pro is able to go push 8K. It does look utterly phenomenal, and I think a lot of us are getting pretty excited to go and see the future of this console as a whole. So I'm going to go and talk about this, showcase up the 8K support, and as well, kind of give you guys a little bit of a fun impression over here when it comes to the, well, No Man's Sky 8K impressions. So subscribe if you guys are new. We're going to show off some cool gameplay, talk about my thoughts and comments, and hopefully even see the standardization of 8K gaming as a whole. We also have the Twitters down below, the Twitches, and of course the YouTube accounts if you guys want to subscribe for a PS5 Pro giveaway, and all the affiliate links as well down below. So really quick, first and foremost, as we've talked about this, the PS5 Pro is capable of hitting 8K resolution, although not many major games have actually had a chance to go and kind of deep dive into it. There really hasn't been a big chance. We haven't seen too many games out there. We've seen a lot of 4K and higher hertz and higher frames, like 120 or at least a bare bone 60, and that's kind of a cool deal. But if we want to go make the future of gaming happen, we need to go push for 8K. And that's kind of just the next big standardization, and I'm sure the PS6 and the next Xbox will try their best to go be a big focal point on 8K gaming. And at the same time, that point TVs at 8K are going to look a little bit nicer. It's just a lot of big benefits. We're going to see a lot of cool stuff going on with 8K. But right now, Digital Foundry, which we're going to show over here in a second, actually had an in-depth look at the PS5 Pro now that they finally have the patches available to utilize the 8K mode, and then a chance to go and highlight how the game's 8K mode delivers all these really good sharp visuals and all these big integrations due to the PSSR, which upscales the game from a base resolution of around 270p, 2700p to 8K, and the image quality remains impressive even in motion. So I want to go and kind of talk about this and give you guys the video itself over here and kind of give you guys the first few seconds on the Digital Foundry as I'm going to maybe talk on over it. But let him kind of code for a second.
Files that it would be launching on Project Trinity, which is the PlayStation 5 Pro, and the patch is now out. And accompanying it was a range of press materials that had 8K screenshots.
So technically my video might be in like 720p, but the bitrate for my video should be really high. At the end of the day, it should also kind of equalize on out, and the video itself is on 4K too. So there might be a little bit of a pixelation loss between it, but obviously you're not going to get the full 8K experience by watching a YouTube video through a YouTube video on a YouTube upload as it's being compressed on up. You guys get the vibe of it. But either way, this is looking phenomenal. Even just on the individualized specs you can go and see, and they're basically going and saying, I'm going to let them kind of go cook, how utilizing the PSSR and this big upscaling can now go allow 8K gaming, which is really the next big groundbreaking level. So I'm going to let him go talk a few more seconds. I'm going to kind of yap over the video.
It's got an 8K mode. That's the big news, I guess. Obviously there are enhancements to the 4K mode. It does run at 60 frames per second. It does seem to be using PSSR, but there's an 8K mode as well. 4K targets 60, 8K targets 30. And I've got to say, I'm really impressed with it. I thought it's really pin sharp, crystal clear. I don't know what you think about it, John.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. And as we talked about before, it looks much more impressive than I expected.
So I'm going to kind of yap over them a little bit as they kind of showcase up the gameplay itself, and obviously honor and credit for Digital Foundry. So when it comes to stuff, as we're kind of looking through the game itself as a whole, 8K is the next level. 8K is the goal. And whenever we can have our next console generation pushing 8K, that is when we know things are to be working very well. Now, No Man's Sky is a bit of a peculiar one because the individualized graphics are not insane. Like if you look at some of these pictures, they look nice. They look very good. But in the individual like lines and textures, animations, like little explosions, or whatever they might go and be, that's one thing we look towards the most. That's what we want to go and see the most. We want to see those really beautiful individualized textures, and that's what kind of bolsters up an 8K experience. And that's why sometimes even games like this may have that chance to be upscaled up to 8K, because utilizing a really nice 4K basic ground will make everything look very phenomenal and nice. And that's kind of what we're looking for over here. I'm just going to keep on trying to show up some gameplay too. So this is great, because although it is a 30 FPS experience at 8K, this is making that next leap and bound towards the next generational improvement. And as you guys can probably see some gameplay on it, this looks nice. Now, the next part for this too, for me to yap on into, is this is actually having a chance to utilize this brand new PlayStation 5 Pro patch that we've discussed. A lot of early gameplay and leaks were just kind of taking advantage of the PS5's better hardware, like the better GPU, better CPU, and this console itself being made better. But now we're seeing these patches, these optimizations, the ray tracing and PSSRs, and this is where the magic really starts to go and shine, where everything starts to look a lot more beautiful. Once again, granted, don't mind me if we're not actually recording on this 4K side, just try to look and see the visuality of it because it looks very nice as I'm trying to, 4K to this. So anyway, the idea behind this is that we can now actually get this next leap, the next level of gameplay as a whole. And this is what we want to see more of. Because you have to be able to go and utilize the console itself and utilize the PSSR and utilize the ray tracing, because it's like there. It's basically you have like the hammer, you have the easel, you have the paint. You have to somehow go and apply the paint though too. And more time that we have with the PS5 Pro means more of these third-party games can now enhance these games and utilize these features and textures. But as well, the more time we have for developers to make future games with the PS5 Pro in mind, might go make 8K the next industry standard, which it really should be. 8K 30 should have already been a standard for the PS5, but I kind of feel like they kind of tapered off on that. It's probably not so realistic, but now with the PSSR, it actually might be. This is why it's fun to go and see things like No Man's Sky having that very first kind of gloss push of an 8K 30. Now, not many people have 8K TVs yet. Very expensive, and they're not the industry standard. Maybe for super enthusiasts, but it's still a little bit expensive. And as well, not much media, such as like movies or TV shows or even sports, have pushed the 8K standard yet. Now, it is out there. You can find it if you search for it, but just saying like the overall standard mom and pop that everyone would go and have. And that's why it's a very intriguing concept to see. Because we want this. You need to start having people start making stuff for it to make that push. And PlayStation really hasn't pushed too much 8K gaming. They want to have that 4K at least 60 FPS, which is still fine as an industry standard. But if we have the PSSR and the PlayStation 5 Pro and the better specs and the optimizations, why don't we start seeing more 8K? Which is why I'm happy to see No Man's Sky actually doing this in the first place. I'm going to try to go bounce around maybe a little bit more extra gameplay on it if they do show more, because they are talking about like kind of what I'm talking about, and there's their own different speaks and words. But like that's why it's intriguing, because the more people do this and the more time we have to push this, and they've promoted out this 8K kind of heavily for No Man's Sky, means more chance for us to improve our gameplay. And we want Xbox, the next Xbox, to also do 8K. We want PC to have 8K standardized on not like a $3,000 GPU. I could probably run 8K in my current setup, but it'd probably be really rough, and 30 frames is not usually the standard nowadays with higher hertz monitors, which I can understand why it's more of a little bit of a pain. But due to the fact that they have these really high baseline 4Ks already, and if it already looks nice and clean, they can then go utilize that same 4K and then upscale it with the PSSR to go make that 8K realistic. So the game almost has a very strong 4K baseline, and some games such as PlayStation games do already have that. God of War, Horizon, Spider-Man can probably push on an 8K gaming system pretty well. And at the same side too as well, even though some of the things might be capped at 30 FPS, having that really nice high fidelity mode of having an 8K gaming experience is worth the trade-off for some people. But once again, it's not the standard, and that's why I want this to become the standard itself, because there's like maybe sometimes more of a stylistic wise, because it might be a little easier for like very broad color schemes. Like you kind of look at some of the pictures over here, they do look very similar when it comes to their games. But I think here's also a bit of the testing over here. You guys can kind of see the consistent 30 FPS on No Man's Sky, but it's also once again on 8K. This is 8K gaming at consistent 30, and this is where the beauty really starts to shine. As I mentioned, a lot of the gameplay itself is a little bit more standardized. Like it's not crazy detailed like facial features and animations and all this crazy stuff. It's a lot of just like, red, blue, and green and like plants and like little monsters running around. So it is somewhat of an easier game to go and pinpoint the PSSR, because once again, this is like kind of basic. It's like, I don't want to say it's basic in a bad way, but it's basic and easy enough for AI to upscale it very well. It might be harder for things like an Alan Wake or Silent Hill. It's a lot more individualized, like chairs, details, textures, like, individual mobs moving around, etc., which do make the game like a little bit closer. Like you'll see the details a bit more. But once again, they were able to go and push out 8K and make it consistent, and this is where the future of gaming is finally going. Now, maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, as the technology, optimization, Unreal Engine get a little bit better, we might see more 8K gaming, but I would really like to see PlayStation themselves try to push the 8K the best they possibly can. Because in my honest opinion, I think that is what the world needs and what the world wants. A slightly better 8K experience and kind of make that next generational leap. And we're going to apply that, as I mentioned, for the PS6 and Xbox 2 or Xbox Series ZZZ, whatever they're trying to go call it. But it's kind of nice to see that it's like somewhat becoming possible right now with the PSSR and the PlayStation 5 Pro. So I just want to go talk about the fact that it is now becoming normalized. It is a big improvement. And the more that we have a chance to go and see all this, even better. Because right now they have really impressive results and they're rocking stuff on out. and life's going pretty cool. So I want to hear your thoughts and comments on the 8K. Are you guys excited for 8K? Do you guys expect more? Were you guys expecting it even from the PS5? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on everything down below. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitters down below. We have the Twitches down below for our bonus PS5 Pro giveaway entries. And of course, subscribe or pick up your consoles with the affiliate links down below. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching here in the first place.